This bit radio has been charging for about 6 hours now. Somehow we're still on 1 bar. What's going on there? Hello YouTube. 3 years ago I made a review on the FT3D and it was a 1-month review. Generally the feelings are positive, but I had a couple of little nags. It was my first premium radio. Put that in perspective, when I first got into the hobby, I bought this $20 Baofeng, and this is a radio I used for a while. I used it for satellite work. I used it for all kinds of things. I love this radio. And I thought, now it's time to upgrade. It's time to get a real radio. So at the time, I bought Yaesu's, or basically the top of the line handheld that were still being produced. It was the Yaesu FT3D. And at the time, I bought it for, I think it was on a sale for $350, which was a lot of money for me, especially for a handheld radio. Especially coming from a world where I was buying $20 radios and they were working for me, right? So when I got this radio, I expected a lot from it. I was kind of starry-eyed when I made the review. And I've got some things now, 3 years down the road. Looking back, I've matured much as a ham. I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot more radios now. I've got a lot more experience. And I'm here to say, I don't like this radio.
Huh?
A YouTuber who says he doesn't like a radio can be a big deal sometimes because some people associate themselves with the brand of radio. Some people call themselves Yaesu people. Some people call themselves icon people. I don't call myself any type of people. I am very much about the functionality of the radio. Another thing that I'm not about anymore is the look and aesthetic of a radio. Some people say, oh, that's a beautiful radio, or oh, it's got a sim profile. I don't care about any of that. I care about functionality. The only time these radios are going to be actually real life useful for me is in an emergency. And a lot of times in an emergency, you're in rough situations, you're in rugged situations. You want something that just works. You stop caring about the beautiful touchscreen interface and the colors. All that kind of goes out the window. Now, not be everybody. A lot of people now ham radio because it's a hobby. They don't even care about emergency preparedness. They don't care about the functionality. A lot of it comes down to the looks. Now, I'm going to go over the very valid complaints that most people have first, and then I'm going to go into my opinions. So the first being the charging. You're going to see a video here on the screen, but when I charge this radio, it's always on 1 bar. If I connect it, it goes 1 bar on the screen. It doesn't matter how many times or how long I charge it, it will always stay at 1 bar. I'm talking about the now charging screen. And when I power it off, or when I power it on, with the charger connected, there's no battery indicator to show me how much the battery's charged. It's just completely gone. So I unplug the charger and then the radio cuts off. The radio, it has a battery in it. It shouldn't matter if I unplug the charger. Why is the radio cutting off? So it does this every time you unplug it and plug it. If the radio's on, it cuts off. That's really silly. First, the battery indicator issue. This is a top-of-the-line $350 premium radio at the time. It should not have weird, strange glitches like that. That is a quality control issue. I don't know if everybody's radio does that. I know enough people to complain about it. But this is like the type of like super cheap Chinese Alibaba radio type glitches that you would see and say, oh, well, it's a $20 radio. I'm not going to do that with this radio anymore. I'm not going to do that with the top radios anymore because they have competition now. So I'm not accepting that anymore. Like, your charging interface should work. I can take my Baofeng and I can throw it in a charger, unplug it. It's always going to show me the right battery indicator. If it's full, the charger's green. If it's not full, it's red. I can do it from the charger. The radio doesn't turn off. I can transmit from the charger. It's not a problem. Yaesu doesn't want you to transmit while this radio is on charge with the DC connector. Speaking of which, this was the DC connector that was shipped to me. This came with the radio. And this has to be some of the cheapest wire I have ever seen on a radio product in my life. I think there was one time I ordered like a super cheap Baofeng eliminator that had wire like this. It ended up burning, but whenever I store this radio, I wrap the wire around the charger block and I throw it in the crate. As I've been doing that, it almost looks like the wire might come apart. This doesn't look sturdy at all. It's flimsy, it's small, And you might think that's a silly thing to worry about, but this is my Quansheng charger. This right here, at least the wire is durable, right? It comes with the cradle. At least it comes with a cradle. This is a $20 radio that came with a cradle. A $350 radio that came with a cheap, flimsy DC connector. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the audio quality. I have, of all the radios I have here, I have a Baofeng, I have a FT3D, I have a Quansheng. The $350 radio is the worst audio quality of all of them. And I'm going to show you a test here, and I'm not going to let you see the radios. I'll tell you what the radios are afterwards. But I want you to see if you can pick out the $350 radio out of the three.
It was partly cloudy. The temperature was 39 degrees, the dew point 25, and the relative humidity 57%. At Bowling Green, it was partly cloudy. The temperature was 41 degrees, the dew point 29, and the relative humidity 62%. The wind 5, Owensboro reported 41, and Jasper reported 43. This is No Weather Radio, your best source for 24-hour-a-day weather information. The station is KIE.
A lot of times if people complain about the audio on the Baofeng, they're like, oh, it's another one of those things. Oh, it's a $20 radio, who cares? Well, this is a $350 radio, so I care, right? So we've talked about the audio issues. We've talked about the charging issues. Now I want to talk a little bit about maybe more opinion, the design of the radio. Yaesu is making flagship radios now. Their entire line has been this touchscreen interface. I don't like that. Now, I am very much a functional type guy, right? I want my radios to be able to be used in emergencies, not have to worry about banging them around, make sure they're durable. This right here does nothing for any of that, this touchscreen. If I throw this in the bag, I'm constantly worried about which way the screen's facing, unless I put some type of thing over it. I'm worried about, like, if maybe my keys are in front of it, if the keys are going to jab into the screen. Now, the Baofeng, I'm never going to do that with. I can sit here, I can punch that screen, right? Like, it's never going to bother me. Like, that radio will be fine. My FT3D, same thing. I'll take the charger block and I'll start smacking the screen with it, right? It doesn't make a mark. It's fine. It could take the abuse. I'm not going to do that to my $350 radio. It's more fragile. Why is it more fragile? It's more expensive. That's the reason why I don't take it out anywhere. I don't want to mess it up. I want to be able to sell it. Actually, I'm trying to sell it. Now, I want to go ahead and say I've covered this radio extensively. If you Google FT3D, the first page of Google will have one of my videos on it. If you Google FT3D how-to, the first page of Google, the first result is my video, and there's 2 or 3 other of my video. I've dug into the menu settings of this radio. I've learned its in and outs. I know its quirks, and that's the reason that I'm complaining about it. I feel like now, 3 years with the radio, I have a reason to talk about it. Now I'm going to talk about some of the selling points that were features on this radio. Number 1 being the Bluetooth. Now, we all know that the Bluetooth on this radio is trash. There's no denying. I did a video testing several headsets, and I think only one of them were usable, and it was so finicky that I would never actually use it in real life. I don't know if I speak for everyone on this, but yes, this radio does have Bluetooth functionality in the same sense that the 6100 has Bluetooth. I don't think anybody's using it. And here is an idea. This is for free. Any of the radio manufacturers that might be watching this. If you're going to put Bluetooth in the radio, make it a device mode Bluetooth as well, so that if I go on my computer, I can add my radio as a headset connection so that I can get audio in and out of my computer. Not only will that allow me to use the computer for Vox and stuff like that, I'd actually be able to do packet with that. So if I was to run a software TNC such as Direwolf, I could route it through the headset interface and do packet over the Bluetooth connection from this radio, effectively having my own mobile link. That's free advice for any radio manufacturer out there. If you can make the audio quality high definition on Bluetooth for packet, put headset mode on this radio, allow people to connect to it with a laptop and see what happens. And so that's going to bring me to my next point, APRS on this radio. This radio has quite a bit of APRS functionality. You can do the basics. You can send messages. There's smart beacons. You can receive messages. You can see position reports, yada, yada, yada. Yaesu took the time to create their own proprietary APRS system in this radio. They had developers probably code that whole menu interface and the demodulation, modulation, all of that just to create a lockdown APRS mode on this radio. Now, let's go back 9 years before this radio was released. We had the THD72 Alpha, and that radio also had APRS, but it did not create some proprietary lockdown APRS functionality. It had a TNC that was exposed. And why is that a big deal? You can take that radio, the TH72 Alpha, or TH72 Kenwood, you can connect to the computer and connect to BBS boards. You can do IP traffic over APRS. You can route it through whatever APRS clients on your computer have situational awareness. You can hack away at the TNC all you want on that radio and squeeze as much functionality as possible out of it. While that radio has APRS digibeating built into the radio, it can act as a APRS digipeater alone, on top of all the other functions that Yaesu has on theirs. Yaesu, if you're going to put APRS in the radio, why put some proprietary lockdown APRS system in the radio? Just allow us to access the TNC so we can do whatever we like. You can still build the menu out if you want to add it, communicate with its internal TNC, but allow us to connect the radio to our computer and utilize the TNC built into the radio. That, I promise you, that will increase your sales. There's people out there that still has interest in a packet radio, I myself, if someone came up to me today with a TH72 and said, hey, I'll trade you for that FT3D, here you go, take it, if only just for the TNC portion. It's a shame that we haven't had radios recently that is doing that, and that's why the used market for these radios is still so high. Those radios are actually selling now, despite being made 13 years ago, more than the premium flagship from 3 years ago, FT3D, as new. So when people are buying used radios from 13 years ago, used for more than the flagship radio produced 3 years ago new, then you have a problem. It should tell you something. I'll end this with saying this. I was not a ham back when Yaesu were making brick radios like this, or some of the older HF radios that would took the batteries, the very durable type rigs you didn't mind throwing in your backpack. But I feel like that was the golden age of Yaesu. Those are the radios that people, they go after, right? There's two different types of consumers in the market. You have people who only do amateur radio as a fun hobby. Maybe as they get older, they can't really do much anymore. They have lots of money to throw around. They are buying radios like the FT3D, 5D. They're buying the touchscreen radios. They're buying the huge base station SDR radios. And that's fine. That is a stream of revenue. But there are a whole market of people, including myself, who still go back and only buy radios based on their functionality. Or if we have an event where we have to bug out for some reason, if we have an event where we actually have to use our radios for a disaster, emergency preparedness, we go after radios that are durable. They will stand the test of time. They're not going to get messed up if we throw them in the backpack. And those are the radios that Yaesu used to make. Those are the radios that I'm going to be selling my new Yaesu radios. And I'm going to be going after some of those older, more durable systems. And I will not buy myself, and this is speaking for a ham in his, late 20s now, and I feel like I'm not the only one out there. Going forward, I'm not going to buy any more of these touchscreen radios. What is this? I'm not going to buy any more of these. I'm not going to buy any more of this current trend that Yaesu is on with the touchscreen radio, and we go from the 2D, 3D, 5D, whatever, or the mobiles. I haven't bought any of those either. and it's because there's not really much innovation going on. I just wanted to talk about my opinion on the FT3D now after 3 years after I did the 1 month review as a ham who's had this radio for a few years and just a little disappointed about the direction of radios these days as a company, and how I just wanted to voice my concerns about how we are going back now to earlier versions of radios to try to seek out features that Yaesu is not really catering to anymore. They are not Yaesu is not making radios for the prepper market anymore. Yaesu is not making radios for the bug out type, the emergency disaster relief type. They're making pretty radios. They're making pretty radios made to set on a shelf, trying to jam as many features into a small case as possible. And there's a market for those people. It's just not me. 73 to you guys.